Welcome back to FryMinis. I'm Julie, and today we're talking about how to be ready for your next turn in Dungeons & Dragons. If you're new to the channel, welcome! We share videos about all things Dungeons & Dragons, from painting to book reviews to unboxings to advice for DMs and players. If you're a longtime subscriber, welcome back! And no matter who you are, thanks for being here. In my last video, I talked about how to be a good player, including being present. Check out the video in the upper right now. Today, I'm narrowing in on one aspect of being present, being ready for your next turn. One of the hardest parts of playing a group game is sitting there while someone fumbles through what to do because they just weren't paying attention to what was happening between their turns. We've all been there, either as the person who was tuned out or one of the many waiting for the other person to get caught up. It happens to all of us, but as always, I urge you to do your best to pay attention. My advice today is how to be ready. And yes, you can even use it if you weren't paying attention until the DM called on you. Number 1, prepare your rolls. Have your dice collections ready. This is most relevant for playing in person, but I do it when we play virtually too. I have my sets of go-to dice ready in little piles so I can grab them, shake them, and roll them quickly without having to dig around or source. Now, if you've been around for a while, you've probably seen Eric's giant bucket of dice. You don't need that many dice to have your collections ready to go. But if you're most often using a greatsword and rolling at advantage, have your 2d20s and 2d6s together, plus any common bonuses. Yes, like many players, I'm a little neurotic about my dice, and I prefer to color code them. So if I have 2 swings at advantage, one set of d20s and d6s might be purple, and the other might be blue, just to keep it straight. If you're playing virtually, this can be even easier, especially with a dice roller in D&D Beyond or your virtual tabletop of choice. Just set up anything you need to be ready to roll. Number 2, develop default actions. Let's say you've got an amazing spell all ready to go, and you know you're going to make that killing blow on the troll. Until the person ahead of you wipes them out. Now that fireball you were going to drop could only be used in a space that would harm your party. Now what? If you're Eric, you'll probably just blow them up, but what else could you do? We've all been there. The plan you had in place falls apart just before your turn. You should always be able to take the time you need to make a plan. That's what our table is for. But the point of this video isn't about rushing you or making the game go faster just to go faster. It's about keeping it moving to keep you and your table energized. For this reason, I have default actions ready to go on each character. Most often, that's a default weapon attack or a cantrip, something that doesn't consume resources. But as I said in my last video, we're playing as a team. It never hurts to use your turn to toss in a help action or give someone a health potion. Again, not every turn has to be the most well thought out, tediously planned, perfect action. Those are the fun moments, but if you're unsure of what to do, it's great to have a default action that just keeps the game moving without hemming and hawing and losing momentum. And remember, that entire chaotic round is happening at the same time within 6 seconds. Nobody would do the most absolute optimal maneuver every single turn, even Captain America. Number 3, understand party strategies. I had to. When you're planning your next turn, it can help to think about who's next in the initiative order. I don't think this is too meta, that's my opinion, but whatever works for your table. On my cleric, I have Guiding Bolt, which gives advantage to the next attack against that creature. Provided it hits, of course. I can help the fighter in my party use Great Weapon Master on their next attack, which means they take a penalty to hit in order to do extra damage. But if I just gave them advantage with Guiding Bolt, it's a win-win. Similarly, I know if a fellow player is about to drop a fireball on a horde of zombies, I'm not going to disrupt them by using my turn for Turn Undead, which ends when the creature takes damage. By anticipating what my team is going to do or talking about it without getting too meta, you stay better in the game, you're a better player, and you can have those go-to actions for your turn. And remember, the shove action is a great thing to do when you can use it to set up a melee attack to hit at advantage. It doesn't hurt to expend your turn lining up someone else for success. It's okay to have out-of-combat discussions with your fellow players and to establish these tactics and behaviors. Grunting quick, basic commands on your turn is probably going to be okay at most tables, but devising elaborate stratagems as a horde of gnolls obliterates you is probably a little unreasonable. Your characters regularly engage in combat, so it's totally reasonable to have contingency plans. Number 4, know your spells. Okay, if you've seen any of my videos before, you know that memorizing the stats and formulas of this game is not for me. It just doesn't come naturally, and I don't care to learn it. That said, it's my responsibility to know my spells, and that always moves the party along. In a current campaign, I'm playing a cleric for the first time in a long time. My previous character was a fighter, and it was much easier for me to just swing my sword every turn. As casters with a lot of options, we all have our go-tos, but we don't always know what our niche spells do. If you're not going to remember, like I'm not going to remember, have a spell description in front of you so you can reference it and even just read it aloud to your DM. I think it's important to know the exact damage of my main offense ability, my weapon attack, my cantrip, whatever. And it's fair to expect that I know the exact capabilities of my frequently used spells, such as Bless or Healing Word. But for something that doesn't come up constantly, such as Dispel Magic, it's probably okay for me to know the general information. Ending magical effects at range as an action. The ability to easily access the specifics will really help me out, such as how to handle a contested roll for higher level effects. Know your go-tos, be familiar with everything else, and have your resources readily available. Number 5, and it bears repeating, keep paying attention. Nothing is worse than a big dramatic event in combat to be elaborately detailed, only for the next player to look up and say, okay, what just happened? You need to be thinking about your next turn, but you also need to keep an ear on what's happening at the table. You don't need to have an exact play-by-play of every single roll, but you should know why a second beholder appeared or why your poor barbarian is dead. This can be challenging for a lot of people, but it's important that we each do our individual best. And please, don't miss what's going on just because you're distracted on Twitter or taking a text. Okay, like I said at the beginning and in my last video, we all have off days, and the point of this video isn't to optimize your gameplay to churn through combat faster. I hope it takes pressure off of you when your initiative number is up and you have absolutely no idea what to do. And likewise, I hope it makes your game more fun, because otherwise, what's the point? Did this video help you? Let us know in the comments below how you prepare for your turn. And be sure to like and subscribe to FryMinis to stay up to date on all of our videos. A big thank you to our patrons, the Spud Club, for their continued support. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.